Hi everyone, today we're going to explore negatives. And first we're going to see how to make negative sentences with the verb to be. Because the verb to be is a special verb. And in past simple, either we use the verb to be to make negative statements or other verbs. Alright? And the structure is quite different as well, you're gonna see in this presentation. Alias Pedro was not one of the executors of the Nilo massacre, having into account the text I shared with you in the previous video. If you haven't watched that one, I suggest you do. I'm leaving the link around and in the description as well. Here it just came up with a random name. We have the structure here. Subject, as you can see, alias Pedro. Verb in past, was. Negative, not. Complement, one of the executors of the massacre. And the verb to be with this negative word not are usually abbreviated like this, wasn't. And the same happens with the plural conjugation of the verb to be in past, which is were, as we can see over here. The past of are is were, and remember that were is used for plurals. Okay, so here we have it, were not. The abbreviation of that is weren't. Remember that the verb to be is an irregular verb, okay? If you haven't watched that video in which I explain what is the difference between regular and irregular verbs, I suggest you do. I'll leave it around and also in the description. So here we have that was is the past of am, right? And the negative is was not, and the abbreviation is wasn't. So the abbreviations are the most used forms. Let's see some other examples using negatives in past simple. Shakira and Piqué weren't always a model couple. Here, as you can notice, we're using a frequency adverb, always. These frequency adverbs are not very commonly used in negatives in past. As a matter of fact, they are not very commonly used in past in general, alright? The most frequent use of frequency adverbs is present simple, okay? I also made a series on the present simple. If you haven't watched that one, I suggest you check somewhere on the screen. I'm leaving it and also in the description of this video. But when frequency adverbs are used, this is the position. They go right after the verb to be and the negative word not. For example, Shakira and Piqué weren't always a model couple. Another example, Rodrigo wasn't usually curious when he was in high school. Now let's analyze how is the structure of negatives in past simple with other verbs. Our ancestors did not use advanced technology like AI, also known as artificial intelligence. Here, there's also an abbreviation of this auxiliary and the word not. So here is something new. As you remember, I said that the verb to be was a special verb in past simple. And I also said that in past simple, either we use the verb to be in past or we use other verbs. When we use different verbs, we need to add an auxiliary, which is did. Did is the past of the auxiliary do or does that we used in present simple. Again, if you haven't watched the series on present simple, I suggest you do. I'm leaving it in the description. But here we have did, which is the past of do and does, plus not. And the abbreviation is didn't. So our ancestors didn't use advanced technology like AI. And here is the structure when we have the abbreviation. Here I put it separately, but it is more commonly used like this in the abbreviated form. People didn't have laptop computers in the 17th century. The global economy didn't grow in the last recession. So here is did plus not abbreviated and the basic form of the verb. Notice here, this is also quite important. The verb is actually in the basic form. That's why I wrote it here. Have is a verb that is not in past. Grow is a verb that is not in past. Why is that? Because the auxiliary is already in past. One of the functions of the auxiliary did is to mark the tense, in this case past. Alright, and as it is already in past, so the verb has to be in the basic form. For negatives and also for questions, today we're not going to explore questions, but have it in mind, alright? Every time you see the auxiliary did combined with other verbs, the other verbs have to be in the basic form. Other verbs and frequency adverbs. As I said before, frequency adverbs are not very commonly used in past, but when they are, here is the position. I did not always wake up early when I was a child. I didn't always wake up early during the pandemic, also another example. But look at the position here. It goes right between the verb in the basic form and right after the auxiliary with the negative word not. So I didn't, then frequency adverb in the middle of these two verbs, the auxiliary verb and the main verb, and then the complement. So this is different than when we use the verb to be. Summary. The organization when we use the verb to be is subject, the verb to be plus the word not, plus complement. This one is simpler than this one. And when we do have a frequency adverb, the frequency adverb goes after the verb to be, when we use the verb to be, okay? Now, when we use other verbs, we have an extra word which is the auxiliary did, and it goes right after the subject. So, Mark and Beth, for example, didn't, which is the combination of did plus not, then the verb in the basic form, visit, and then complement. Mark and Beth didn't visit their friends last weekend. Sarah didn't always go clubbing on Saturday. So when we have a frequency adverb, as you see here, it goes between the auxiliary plus not and the verb in the basic form, just like so. Sarah didn't always go clubbing. This is not very common, all right? In past simple negatives, we don't usually use frequency adverbs. When we do, here is how they are located. We have 4 components, including the frequency adverb when we use the verb to be for negatives in past, versus 5 components when we use other verbs. Why? Because when we use other verbs different to the verb to be, we have an extra word, which is the auxiliary did. That's why. So we have the main verb and an auxiliary. Here we just have the verb to be, which also functions as an auxiliary. Some tips. The past simple structure for negative sentences is subject plus the auxiliary did plus not plus verb in base form. This is crucial because the auxiliary is already in past, and when using the verb to be, the structure is subject, verb to be plus not plus complement. It's actually easier. When using the verb to be with frequency adverbs, the frequency adverb goes after the verb to be plus not. This is also something important to have in mind. You can also go back in the video and check when we did the verses, check the difference in the structure. When using other verbs with frequency adverbs in negative sentences, the frequency adverb goes between the auxiliary did plus not and the verb which is in the base form. Here you can also go back in the video and check the verses we just did. Important, when using past simple, we do not combine the verb to be in other verbs. We either use the verb to be or other verbs. And remember, when we use the verb to be, we don't need any auxiliary, we just use the verb to be in past plus the word not. That combination is known as past progressive. I mean, which combination? When we combine the verb to be with other verbs in the same sentence, that is no longer past simple. That is called past progressive or past continuous. I actually did a video where I explained how we use the past continuous. If you haven't watched it yet, I'm leaving it in the description too. And guys, we reached the end of this episode. Thank you for watching. As always, remember you will find free materials in the description of this video, and also you will find the links to the episodes related to the topics we just discussed today. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.